To improve is to change, and to perfect is to change often, said Winston Churchill. Today, I have on the show Rodney Omeokachie. Did I get it right?
No.
Say it.
Omeokachie.
Omeokachie. I'm sorry, I always destroy it. It's like my surname, everybody does that.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to forgive me. But I've really tried. I tried, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Rodney is the host of the Young God podcast. I knew Rodney years ago as a photographer, fine artist, and he used to host a podcast called The Creative Habit. I happened to be on that podcast. I featured on the podcast, one of the first podcasts that I've been on. And now he is the host of The Young God, which is now critically acclaimed all over the world, I should say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Rodney, tell us a little bit about how you started this whole podcasting thing.
Gary V, I was watching one of his videos. I was late to the party, 2018. I was just watching one of his videos and he was like, podcasts are...
the future.
Yeah, he was like, podcasts, audio is the way to go.
Yeah.
And then he just talked about this app called Anchor that made it so easy.
Yeah.
So, I tried out the app. It was as easy as he said it was. You record on your phone and then you publish for free.
Yeah.
And then that's how my podcasting journey started. And then over time, as the quote you just shared, I've been perfecting and changing often. So from the creative habit to the young God, and really just fine-tuning my delivery, my style, my message, and just seeing how I'm evolving and my audience is evolving with me over time. It's really...
No, but so you started with Gary V, right?
Gary V.
Gary V.
Yes.
You started with Gary V, and then this inspired you to start your own.
Yeah.
So why the change from the creative habit to the young God? Because I know you stopped the creative habit in total, or it's still running?
It's
It's
done.
no more running.
Yeah.
So it's just the young God now.
Yeah.
So I want to know why that, like...
It happened because, one, I felt I was more than just a creative.
Yeah.
I'm not a creative. I feel like I'm a creator.
Creator.
Yeah, and
love it.
Yeah, I think that just expands. So for me, a creative is someone who does the work, does artistic stuff.
True.
That's their thing, But a creator, a creative individual, is someone who is creative even outside of the arts, of all these kinds of creative, instruments that we know today. So like my entire lifestyle, the way I live, the way I think, the way I talk, the way I do things, it's very one of one.
Okay.
So I felt, and at that time I was also getting into myself as a god.
Ooh.
Yeah, so like being a creator is being a god, being made in the image of God.
Yeah.
Creating the world.
Does that connect to anything in the Bible or religion, or it's just...
No, it's right there in the Bible. Like it's there, for God created us in His image. Yeah. And so by proxy, you are, God's.
That's your belief, in life, the Christian belief system of the Bible, or so it's... I want to just connect it, you know what I mean? Because that quote in itself is from the Bible, right? So when you say that, is that from a religious perspective or just in general?
It could be religious, it could be anything, and that's why the Bible is really interesting. It's like really open to interpretation. Yeah. But at the same time, there are key truths that cannot be, disputed. Yeah,
I'm just saying this for those who don't really know or understand, religious context or quotes. So that's why I'm requesting for this. I've known you over I can't remember when I met you, Rodney.
Probably 2016, 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
No, it had to be before that, because I moved to Kebbi in 2015. So that will probably be 2014.
Or late 2013.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So I've seen you evolve, like literally over the years. I met you as a photographer, creative artist, and now you're this multi-hyphenate person who is a consultant, creative. I know there's avocado.
Yeah.
We've not touched on that.
Yeah.
In the podcasting system. I think you've changed from being just the creator to looking at the entire ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what avocado is about.
Yes.
So before we proceed with that, everyone knows you as Rodney Avo, or we used to. I think that's changed now, right?
Yeah.
So that Avo,
What about it?
I remember you telling me what it was. I can't remember now, but I know it was an acronym for something.
For April's very own.
April's very own, yes,
Yeah.
I remember.
And
I was born in April too. That's
where April
true.
babies out
Yes,
here.
that's where it came, yeah.
Yeah.
So, avocado
Mhm.
is a spin-off from that.
Yes. Avocado is so when my clients ask me why avocado,
Yeah.
I will tell them because it's good for you.
Because it's good for you. I
Yeah.
like that.
And that would just, like the service
Yes.
I offer is good for you. I'm trying to like add value, trying to help your your content to grow, trying to
Yeah.
bring out the best version of it, make it healthy, palatable for you and for your audience.
So for those who don't know, Rodney is one of my consultants. And yes,
Yeah.
and he actually gave me the name. I love your work.
Hey, tell them.
And I love your work. You already know that. That's
Yeah.
why you're on the show,
Yeah.
right? So I think for me, I have personally experienced the additional value that you add as a human being, as a person, the conversations, one-on-ones, things like that.
Yeah.
But even from the side of business, like you see things differently
Yeah.
in a way that the normal person does not see. I think that's what makes you different as a person. That's what resonates with me, and we've come a long way over the years.
Yes, we have.
And I've seen you, like I said, evolve into this person that you are today, which I'm very proud of. I'm
Thank you
very
very
proud of
much.
that. But I see also that in everything you're doing, you're evolving the mindset of even your own followers based on stuff that you learn, based on the conversations that you have. And that's one of the reasons I was like, no, Rodney has to come on this, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, when we talk about who a multi-hyphenate is, I'm taking this back to us being on your podcast again. I said I wasn't on the Young podcast, the Young God podcast, but I was.
You were, yeah.
Live in Lagos,
yeah.
yes, at Africa Next.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was so cool.
It was a cool,
With Bright Jaja.
yes, with Bright Jaja. And the topic was the myth of the multi-hyphenate.
Yeah.
So I've wanted to ask you, because you were the one asking us questions, what is the multi-hyphenate to you, and how does this define who you are as a person?
The multi-hyphenate is simply a person who has multiple skills, interests, and finds a thread that connects them all in whatever he's doing. So there's a thread that connects them all. It's not just, I bake and then I'm a lawyer on the side.
Yeah.
It's not a side hustle type situation. It's,
Exactly.
I found a way to do these things that I love to do and connect them and make them valuable, like a source of income, a source of inspiration, a source of, like a replenishing fountain
Yes.
for oneself.
So I want you to use your own life,
Okay.
who you are, directly,
As an example.
connecting it to this example.
Yeah, so as you said, I started out my creative career as a photographer,
Yes.
right? And then from being a photographer, when the time came, I decided that I didn't want to just be a creative one, an executor of ideas.
Yes.
I wanted to be one who comes up with ideas for people. And then that's where I went into branding and, strategy, and started to like hone those skills of being able to analyze the situation and come up with creative concepts for that. So being a photographer, I already had the eye to see these things. But now as a strategist, I had to take that photographer's eye and now like convert it to my mind's eye,
Okay.
to be able to like see concepts and connect them.
Yes.
That was how it was, right?
Yes.
Then around 2019 was when I got into podcasting as a serious,
Podcaster. Yeah.
serious podcaster, no going back. This is, I'm going to pay my kids' school fees with this thing. That was,
I love that.
That was mentality.
I love
right?
that. Yeah.
So now, as someone who created images and was servicing the eyes, I had to take those transferable skills from photography and branding and bring that to podcasts.
I see.
So how do I tell stories that I usually tell with photos,
But with the
voice, with sound?
Yes.
How do I use
To
branding
stimulate visually.
Exactly,
Yes,
to stimulate
yes.
imagination. How do I capture their attention and hook them? How do I, take these ideas and enter my audience's mind? That was my goal, right?
Was that your initial goal, or it's something you thought about after you started?
Yeah, over time, as I began to understand the power of this platform, you're basically speaking to someone's ears. They push you, like you'd be surprised what people do as they listen to your voice,
That
Aisha.
is true. That is true.
They're doing intimate things or things that on a normal day would be like the most boring thing, but they're carrying you along with them to wash dishes, do laundry. And in those moments, they're the most vulnerable moments because their mind is like very, very like
open
the brain is not working too hard.
Yes.
So if your voice is in their ears at that time, you can get away with all kinds of things. And
you do get away with a lot on your show.
Yeah, so
it's quite interesting.
What better time to unpack difficult ideas or ideas that people don't like to challenge than in those moments when you're very vulnerable. And now you hear these things. On a normal day, you would argue, be triggered.
True.
But you're listening to the podcast and you're doing your dishes and you hear something like, did
like,
Rodney
really?
just say
Did he
that?
just say that? Yeah. Now that is you, Rodney.
You know what I'm saying?
Even in real life, that is you. It's not just about your podcast.
Yeah.
You say your mind. You're very expressive about what you think and what you know. And
Aisha, I tell the truth. That's what it is.
I get it. I know. Yeah. You say it as it is, right? But sometimes it comes across as arrogant and vain. We've had this discussion in the past, right?
Yes, we have.
And I said this, before I get into that, there's something you said earlier about interconnecting and understanding this connection around things.
Yeah.
Yes, we may have stumbled around things like that and say, this makes sense to add this or that. And I wanted to say this because you said something about seeing things as a photographer. As a photographer myself, I've had issues with being in crowded spaces. And that's one of the reasons this idea of using the mind is a very important topic to me, because when I'm out in spaces, I see things in boxes, or else I get anxiety and I can't, I really can't function anymore and I have to leave. So once there's more than a number of people in a room, I have social anxiety. I have anxiety. People don't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Only those who are closest to me know and understand, and they can see from my body language when I'm about to get triggered and I have to run.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just to run outside and just, clear my mind and then be like, okay. I'll actually use this example. It's like people around me are taking away my oxygen. But since I told myself, look at the world from the eyes of a photographer, I see things in boxes. So when I'm in a space, I am imagining what I would want to document about that space. So I'm really focused on that and not the people or the surroundings or the noise. So that thing you said about the mind is so deep and important, because it's in these times that I'm about to fall asleep and I just want to sleep and listen to a podcast. And your podcast, you're about to fall asleep and you wake up and wait, what? What did Rodney just say? And you have your audience, also the person who's there, comfortable enough to just keep going.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's a skill. It's an actual art, People don't get triggered by what would normally be triggering, and they want to express themselves more.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that you mentioned that earlier. So moving forward, I said about those who don't know you, we've had this conversation once in a while in the past.
Yeah.
And I've said, for me, there is the person that the world sees, the general public. There is the guy that the family sees. There's the Rodney that your maybe girlfriend sees. There's the Rodney that you think you are, right? And we've had this argument in the past, and I said, people may think you're arrogant or vain. And I said, for me, that vanity aspect is there, right? Yeah. And I've always wanted you to explain it to me as to, because I listened to one of your podcasts about vanity and how you said you're not vain. Yeah. So I really want that on this.
Vanity. Vanity is a word that describes, for the audience, vanity basically means a focus on the physical, the superficial, in general.
Appearance, right?
Especially when it comes to appearance, yes. Right? And based on that definition, I disagree that I am that.
Okay, so how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as someone who is very comfortable in his skin and just does what he does. It's now up to the audience or whoever is watching to decide what that means to them.
Yeah.
But if you talk to me and you tell me, hey, Rodney, you're arrogant or you're vain or whatever, if you say that, I'm not shy or afraid to have the conversation and say, hey, that's not who I am.
Oh, definitely, we've had that conversation.
I know my story. I know, it's not about, again, you said who I think I am. It's not I don't think
who you know you are. Yes.
You don't understand my level of
Rodney.
My level of self-knowledge, right, is something that it's a blessing from God. From right when we first met till now, it's only just gotten deeper, and I've gotten better of understanding who I am.
Yeah.
And even why people react to me the way they do. You know,
Yeah.
I know people like, I'm so polarizing, it's crazy. There are people who hate my guts, and then there are people
who love it.
Who love
absolutely
me to
love
death.
it. Yes. But it really comes from their own backgrounds, right? And what they feel the kind of person that they want around them is. Don't you think so? Because I've had a conversation where you have people who are extremely confident in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good level of it and there's a bad level of it, right? And you have people who are, like I said, what I love about you is you don't care about what the topic is. You can go in however, as far as a person wants to go, you would take it there, right? And then you have those that are not willing, and we're from a society that people do not want to express themselves. It's like really deep, inherent. It's like we're not supposed to talk about this, or this is taboo, or I can't say this of myself. You know, I'm coming from a conservative space where even just having this podcast can be seen as, why is she even talking? A woman's voice should not even be heard in certain spaces, right? But you have that, and whether you like it or not, and I think it's almost everybody, there are people who are triggered by introverts. It's like, why are you just sitting there? Why are you a killjoy? Why wouldn't you, you have people who do that. I don't like being in new spaces that I'm not comfortable in, and you have people saying, but why not? They're nice people here. You need to know, we need to meet new people. Why are you being boring? Why are you, it's like, or you have those who say, she's so arrogant. Who does she think she is? She doesn't want to talk to. But it comes from that level of, I'm shy, even though I don't seem like I am. But I get shy with new people around me. And so that's one of the reasons I was like, we must talk about this whole vanity, confidence, because I want young people, especially those that are listening in. You know, I don't really care for those who are, they say a fool at 40 is a fool for life, right? So for my age mates and above, well, I don't really believe in that because we constantly evolve. But my main focus is these young people who don't have that confidence, who people constantly pull down just based on who they are. And it comes, like you said, it depends on the background of the person. You know, I have people, I love being around confident women. But I have other women that are like, why would you be friends with so and so when she's so confident, she's so full of herself, she's this, she's that. It's not a problem for me. I'm very happy to be in those spaces. So how do you feel when someone says that? Because why I'm saying this is you did an actual topic on it on your podcast.
On confidence, yes.
But what led to that topic in particular? Because it felt very personal, you know, and even the conversation. For those who haven't listened, listen to Young God, the Young God podcast. It's on Anchor. It's everywhere.
It's dope. So I had the conversation. Okay, so first of all, my podcast is very much based on my life. Everything I talk about is something that I know. These are not like somebody said or hearsay or anything like that. You know, I have gist for days, my experiences, my stories, things that have happened to me, how I've interpreted them. And that's what it's about being a storyteller, telling your own story. You have to be able to interpret what happens to you in a way that helps you like grow and move forward, as opposed to interpreting it in a way that holds you back. That's the key, right? So when you've done all that work to interpret what's happened to you, and you're now moving forward with that confidence, now you can talk about confidence. You can tell the difference between shyness and introversion. You can even tell the difference between an introvert who's very, very confident. You know, of course. You know what I'm saying? And an extrovert who's very shy. You start to see the nuances in, you know, people's personalities, and then empathy now comes in there. Yes,
empathy is so important. I was going to say that before. So important.
Aisha, you see how I leaned into this microphone? I want them to hear what I'm about to say about empathy. Empathy is the single most important, yet the hardest skill
that any of us have to,
because it combines both the heart and the mind.
True.
Most of the times, if you're thinking of logic, you find any reason to pull anyone down. You can argue any, you know, thing, but the heart just compels you to balance it out. Okay, yes, this is wrong, but
what if?
What caused it?
Who?
How are you different from that person?
Exactly.
You could easily be that person.
Be me.
You know? And so when I think of my confidence and the blessing that I have in terms of Like, my dad is very, very confident. My mom is.
She is so beautiful. Oh my God.
Yo,
I love her.
She's a different level of woman.
Yes.
You know, I had the
well,
privilege.
not that your dad isn't handsome, but I'm just.
My dad is. He's sometimes surprised where I got this from. Sometimes you don't know. You know what he tells me? He tells me, you look like, with this beard, you look like Teddy Pendergrass. He tells me that that's his own, weird way of telling me that you're a very, very handsome guy.
But you look like me.
But you look like me. Don't forget where you got it from. Yeah. So I just think of my background and even the fact that when I was in high school, I had a very, very very difficult high school experience.
Yes.
So having come out of that and still maintaining my self-esteem, I don't know how.
And with this, you're talking about maybe bullying or
not doing so well in class.
Yeah.
Teachers, making you the center of attention to prove a point.
Yeah.
Being in probation where everyone knows that you came last or you came. All those different things.
Isn't that such a horrible thing to do, though?
It is what it is, and everyone comes out differently. And I know classmates that are to this day are traumatized by the high school experience.
Of course.
And I see myself, and I somehow made it out with this very, very wide open worldview. So I don't take it for granted. I'm not going to say that I'm confident by my own power completely.
Yes.
But I do understand that. So having empathy is I know I can understand why someone will be shy. So when I'm talking about it on my podcast, I'm saying this is how I am.
Yeah.
This is how I understand it from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
This is what my confidence allows me to do. And it's also within your power to decide that, I want to take baby steps, to
I want to be deliberate about how
to soak in some confidence. And that's what it is like. When someone sees me do what I do, people feel it it's like a...
The good thing is you get feedback, right? We get to see some of the feedback that you get.
Oh my goodness.
And I think the other day I saw you made a post. I don't know if it was a post or a discussion about the countries around the world that are listening to your podcast, right? List some of them so we can...
So obviously there's the 5 that are always going to be in any podcast.
Yeah.
Any podcasters, analytics, Nigeria, US, UK, Canada, South Africa, and Kenya.
Wow.
So 5. Then from there, I see Bosnia, Saudi Arabia, Morocco. Do you guys understand English in those countries? What is it?
Of course they do. Do you understand English in Nigeria? Look at you.
I'm like, English is not their main language, so I'm surprised that there's listeners from there. And then I've had situations where someone would reach out to me and tell me that their therapist recommended my podcast to them.
Wow, that's deep.
And that was even before the podcast even blew, before I started having CNN mention, or people like JJ Omojo want to come on and things like that. Just randomly, I'm getting all this feedback that you know what, I'm onto something here.
Yes.
And I should just fine tune it, get my really master this craft and this responsibility I have to speak into people's ears and say some things.
Oh, you mentioned JJ, congratulations, JJ just got engaged.
On the podcast.
And we're all very happy.
And
you know what's odd? We happened to be in Zurich at the same time and we didn't know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was looking forward to meeting
his shots were beautiful with his engagements and all those things.
Lovely.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But you see what I mean? We're talking about people we see on social media. It's not like you're a part of their day-to-day lives, but you get to understand and see that. And I think that's the beauty of podcasting. For me, there's so many I've stumbled on that randomly it's just let's just play and see.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you're listening, you can just leave it on and it picks whatever and just plays.
Yeah.
And then you get stuck onto one and you're like, oh God, I want to listen. So your podcast sometimes is the one that once I start listening to it, I go on to the next one. I'm like, okay, I'll just give it another 15 minutes. And then it's oh, this is interesting. And then into the next one. So what I realized is when I want to listen to your podcast, I actually make time.
Make time. And I hate that for myself.
Yeah, I make time.
Because I really, because the way the numbers show, right?
Yes.
You want ideally that when you drop an episode, the first week, that episode does some good numbers. You want it, but you find that the good numbers come
randomly.
2-3 weeks later.
Yes.
Because people are trying to find time
Yes.
to make, because they're podcasts that are like easy listening. You can listen to it while you're doing God knows what.
Yeah.
But mine, unfortunately,
it's
requires your attention.
It does.
So I guess
it's not that it requires it invokes it. There's a
compels
difference.
it.
There are people who you have a podcast and it's like they're forcing you, make sure you stay on in the next 10 minutes, blah. You know what I mean? Or they're talking really deep, serious stuff that doesn't really resonate in a way, but yours is very interesting and it keeps you, it catches you, not for bad reasons, but it holds on to you and it's like, okay, I really want to hear what this person has to say next. And then you have really interesting people come on too. You've had a lot of deep conversations that there are a couple of conversations. I think one of the conversations, there are 2 conversations you had with Eddie and what's his name? Oh gosh, I'm so bad right now.
What does he do? Who is
it? Was about manhood and
Skywalker.
Oh,
Annie.
Look at me. How can I forget Annie?
Yes.
So with Annie and Eddie, those 2 conversations, like it really I listened again and again. It wasn't just I took time to, because there's some ideas that you listen to and you're like, oh wow, I never thought of things that way. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. I'm a lifelong learner. So having a podcast where when you listen, it helps you creatively, it gives you a different way of thinking and seeing life. So I think that's one of the reasons I love your work as a podcaster. But you've done everything. You've been a brand consultant, right?
I still am.
You're still a brand consultant. So I think today our focus has been on the podcast, really. You might have to come back on to discuss the other aspects of you. Yeah. But there's something we forgot earlier. Back to it again. Connecting the dots, right? So I met you, someone who was within the photography space.
Yeah.
And over the years, I know when this branding, consulting, media, personality thing started, and then it moved into the podcast. And I would say this, I loved the fact that you thought about the ecosystem. We had a discussion, I don't know if you ever looked into it when I said you should check Enugu for listeners. Do you remember? I think I mentioned
Yes, you mentioned that. Yes.
Did you research that?
I do have listeners in Enugu, yes.
It was shocking to me doing my research on podcasting to see Enugu as one of the highest places where people listen to podcasts.
Yes.
Next to Lagos. I wanted to know, next to Lagos, but like for me, Lagos is everything. For everything creative, you expect Lagos to be there anyway. So I don't really count Lagos as something.
My Lagos listenership is more than my Abuja listenership.
Me too.
Naturally.
Too. For everything creative, really. But I was shocked to see Enugu.
You know what I want to do, Aisha?
Yes.
Let me speak into existence right now. Because I believe that you're a woman who has some powers.
Ooh.
Yes, you do. Oh yeah, I've been paying attention.
Superpowers.
Aisha. You have some mystical powers that I would like to tap
agree.
into today. Yeah, and
so we're getting spiritual now.
Yeah, spiritual, aspirational, and well, let's. I just want to I want to tell you my goal, my vision for what I'm doing, right? And
put it out in the universe, and it shall become.
Put it out in the universe. Put it out on Aisha's podcast because it's Aisha. You know what I'm saying? So I see a vision, a situation, a future where I'm doing this, and one, it is translated into stage.
Into stage. Like theater. Believe it. I don't like if you can imagine what a young God play would look like, then just that is quite achievable though.
That is quite achievable. And again, this is about thinking beyond the podcast. Because I know that this podcast is gonna live long after I'm gone. Like if anything I've done in this world,
as long as the internet still exists.
Right? Mm-hmm. That is my contribution to humanity. Like most thing I'm proud of everything I've ever done. Next will be when I'm a father. That'll be the next best thing. But for now, that's the most important thing. But I do believe that what would be really interesting for me is to explore how to translate all those things I've said, all those vibes into other formats, into a show, into a play. I'm writing a book, you know.
You're finally writing a book.
I've been writing it for long. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done.
It's been what?
Aisha, it'll be worth the wait. Since 2013, yeah. But it'll be worth the wait.
10 years next year.
It's like asking James Cameron why it's taking so long to finish Avatar 2. Good things
in the detail. Okay.
You know, the details.
No, but I'm very proud to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that because you're an exceptional writer. And I don't think the world knows that of you yet. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, I want to do what Trevor Noah is doing. I see myself in him so much. I don't know. I can't explain it. Like what he does, I feel like.
Does Trevor Noah write for himself?
He has writers. Wonder. He has writers.
We should ask him. We should get him on the show.
We should get him on yours or mine.
Yeah.
And explain how that show works. Yeah. But however it is,
we should.
I don't see why I can't do that here in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Have a desk, a table, and just like
say your mind
something
and say things that people are just like, okay, but he said it.
See, and the thing is, when I started that podcast, everyone, it seemed like the Nigerian audience wasn't ready to hear things like that. It seemed like that. No, but
you're not. What you need to understand is, I don't want to say it's a hypocritical society, but I kind of feel like that's what it is. Like, as long as things are in the public, it's like, no. You know, I think social media has changed a lot of that, but there are aspects where people don't even want to say, oh, I even listen to podcasts. I have young people that will be like, they get it, they love it. Mm-hmm. But like my age mates are like, it'll make me sound too geeky or like I'm taking life too seriously. And I'm like, have you listened to podcasts? Like really? You can find everything in podcasts. Yeah. Everything. There's comedy, there's horror, there's mystery, there's everything. It just really depends on what you're looking for. But one thing I've known about life is people are not open to what they don't know. Many people are not open to new things, to exploring, you know, and that's why we still have a lot of people stuck on Facebook instead of TikTok, for example. So it's all about evolving, just like we said, to perfect change.
I feel like my podcast is like the iPad. When the iPad first came out, it was basically Steve Jobs selling us something that
it was a phone laptop.
Yeah, something that we didn't need.
Yes.
You know, but when he gave it to us, like, oh yeah,
I could use this.
I want that. Yes. So I think that's how it was when it first came out. It was an acquired taste at first. You know, especially when I was still figuring out, you know, my voice and how to do that. But at first it was like, it was the thing that you would see the title and you would expect something else.
Totally.
And then when you would listen, you'd be like, oh, I get it.
I'm just happy to be part of the process.
Yes.
Like, I'm happy that you are part of this one too.
Yeah, so see how it comes around?
Yes, it does. Because we had a discussion about the names and the names that you were thinking about. And, you know, I was like, the young God. I was like, I don't know if Nigerians are ready for that. Yeah. But you know what? Let's do it. Let's try it and see what happens.
Let's see.
You know, and you actually said something to me. You were like, you know what? I promise you, it's going to be great. You said that.
I did.
And here we are. How many years later?
3 years this month, May.
3 years later. That's why I love your work. See? Like I said, everyone wants to associate themselves with greatness, with success. Yeah. You know, and it may not be monetary, but I mean, when I say success to me is not connected to money. Yeah. It's changing lives, it's changing mindsets, changing narratives, you know. When you talk about empathy, for example, being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes is so important. It's so important. But not just that, taking it to another level and saying, okay, I've put myself in this person's shoes. I may not really understand, but I think this is what I can do to help. And then to hear them come back to you years later, it is the most beautiful thing.
Sweeter than mother's milk.
It is the most beautiful thing. And I know you've experienced that over and over again. You know, so I'm very happy and I'm really, really, really glad that it's gotten successful. And I think I'm even more proud of Avocado. I think I am, because for me, I've always said, okay, let's even look at my name. Yeah. I was looking for Aisha AK47. For those who know me online, my handle is Aisha AK49. Yeah. So I was opening a Twitter page and I wanted to to be Aisha AK-47. I was a photographer that shoots people, right?
Right.
So it was like, okay, I can be a gun kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then the handle was taken. And I remember even writing to the lady to say, would you mind letting go of this handle?
Oh, wow.
And she was like, nope.
Wow.
So I should actually check who she is now.
No, right.
But like they suggested a AK-49. And something told me, you know what, let me review this. So I went online to search, and it was a vessel. It used to be the SS Saturn, and it was a vessel that carried ammunition. So for me, it was like, you know, one of those moments where you feel like, okay, somebody's speaking to me right now.
Upgrade.
I was like, I'm not just a gun. I'm to spread the ammunition. Like I'm supposed to support others to be guns, to shoot. You know what I mean? Like, so that was why that name stuck, and I became, so a lot of people they're always like, where did Aisha AK-49 come from? And I keep quiet. But then I recently just found out it was also a strain of weed in Amsterdam.
Naturally, yeah.
that
kind of name will never pass weed dealers.
I was like, okay, I'm not sure if this is what I want to keep, but it's been, 10, 12 years in the making, so I'm not going to change my name because of something else. But yeah, that's really what it was. So I'm like I said, I'm really happy. I'm glad that you've supported me, whether it's in the past with our work, now as a friend, and I'm glad to do the same for you too.
Aisha, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
I am not vain.
We have deeper conversations coming up in our next episode.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Right now we're just focusing on the podcast. I'm just starting with you.
Okay.
What? How many times? I've been on the podcast twice or 3 times?
Twice.
So return match coming.
Okay. Always happy to talk to you. It's always one of my favorite things. I think I cleared my day.
For this.
I cleared my day. Don't play with me.
Okay, no. I'm supposed to do this.
Yes.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you for coming, and I look forward to having you on the next one. I'm going to send you a topic really soon.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for coming,
You're
Rodney.
welcome.
And I look forward to bringing someone new next time. Bye, guys. By the way, I love your